Okay, I think we'll get started. Welcome, council colleagues. We'll note that Councillor Wilson is not joining us this evening. She is out of the province. We're here in council chambers on June 10th, 2026 at 6:30 p.m. And I'll ask a council colleague to read the land acknowledgement. Councillor Strachan, do you have it in front of you? Okay. Could I have Councillor Sullivan, do you mind reading the land acknowledgement?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The municipality of North Grenville acknowledges that the municipality operates on the territory of the Anishinaabe. We recognize all First Nations, Métis, and Inuit peoples who now call North Grenville their home. We respect and support the need for cultivating a strong relationship, and we commit to Indigenous informed decision-making to foster the path towards reconciliation.
Thank you. So now we're going to move to the approval of the minutes. And this is in regards to the minutes from the May 13th Committee of Adjustment. So I'll look to a council colleague for the approval of the minutes. Deputy Mayor, Councillor Sullivan, thank you. Any comments or questions in regards to the approval of the minutes from May 13th? Seeing none, I'll call the vote. All in favor? Great, that carries. Next, I just want to be clear that we are going to adopt the agenda for Committee of Adjustment. Is that typically the case? Yes. So we'll go to the adoption of the agenda for our Committee of Adjustment meeting. I'll note that I recognize that a number of you are here for our council meeting in regards to a rezoning on Town Line Road. The order of affairs this evening is that we deal with the minor variance applications first under the Committee of Adjustment. Then we take a short break and we transition into our council meeting. So they're separate and distinct meetings. So what you'll hear this evening in terms of what council is addressing first is the Committee of Adjustment matters. So with that, colleagues, I'll look for a mover and a seconder for the adoption of the agenda for our Committee of Adjustment. Councillor Strachan, Councillor Sullivan, thank you. Any comments or questions in regards to the agenda? Seeing none, we will move on. I'll call the vote. All in favor? Thank you. Next, I'll look to disclosures of interest. And this is, of course, colleagues, in regards to any perceived or real financial benefit or loss arising from business on this evening's meeting. Seeing no disclosures, we'll move on. So our first matter this evening is one where there is a public hearing, and that's in regard to PD 2026-037-80726 in regards to 350 and 360 Colonnade Drive. So as per the Planning Act, I will now read the mandated script in regards to the public hearing. The Committee of Adjustment will now hold a public hearing to consider application number A0726 for Novatech on behalf of Xena Investment Corporation on the lands located at 350 and 360 Colonnade Drive, Plan 15M6 Block 8 and Plan 15M17 Part Block 2, former geographic township of Oxford El Rito, now the municipality of North Grenville, to permit a total of 3 driveways across a total frontage of 102.25 meters and to permit light standards to be erected at a height of 6.8 meters. This hearing is your opportunity to provide any feedback on this application. We welcome any questions. We encourage you to ask any questions at this public hearing, as the Planning Act rules suggest that the public's ability to voice objections later in the process may be limited if oral or written comments are not received. An appeal may only be filed to the Ontario Land Tribunal by the applicant, a specified person, or a public body. Kai is with us this evening as our Secretary Treasurer. Any persons wishing to receive notice of the committee's decision can obviously reach out to us after the meeting, unless, of course, a decision is made at tonight's meeting, which is very likely the case. Is there anyone here for this particular public meeting in regards to the application for 350 and 360 Colonnade Drive? Yes? You are the applicant. Excellent. I'll pass it over to Mr. Mosher to provide the staff report. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So this report, this application is a request for minor variance for Myers Automotive for the subject properties noted 350 and 360 Colonnade Drive. And there's 2 requests that have been presented, and they are a request to grant relief for the number of driveways, which would be at the two properties, as well as a request to grant relief from the maximum height of the light standards at the subject property. The subject properties are located within the Colonnade Shopping Center, being at 350 and 360 Colonnade Drive. There's two separate and distinct properties. There's a split zoning on them. So 350 Colonnade has a zone category of business enterprise with an exception, and 360 Colonnade has a straight business enterprise zone, no exception. Within the official plan, the two properties are designated economic enterprises. It's the intention that they would be used for some type of economic development uses. And I'm on the slide that shows zoning right now. Yes, perfect. Thank you very much. We could go to the next slide, which shows the official plan designation. So as you can see, in an area that's designated for economic uses within North Grenville. And we could scroll down to the next slide. So this site plan was submitted in support of the application as well as a planning rationale by Mr. Thompson, the applicant. The written report that I've prepared, as well as Mr. Thompson, goes into much greater detail. But in essence, the request for a variance here is something that should be supported by the committee in the opinion of staff. What this image is showing is that they're asking for 3 driveways. Now, current zone standards specify that a lot is only permitted 1 driveway for every 30 meters of frontage and could have up to 3 driveways for every additional 30 meters of frontage. Here, the two properties are in one ownership, although they're 2 separate and distinct properties. But by the letter of the law, each property would only be entitled its own driveway. So the applicants have requested this variance to allow for the 3rd driveway to be located centrally. And another factor that should be included if the committee decides to approve this is that the two sites, the 2 properties should be treated as one for the purposes of zone interpretation, as that central driveway is possibly located too close to a property boundary. Second request for relief is for this increase in height standard for the lights. This is cited as a security measure for Myers, and it's interesting because comprehensive zoning bylaw was passed in 2012. Before that, in older parts of this subdivision, sites like Walmart or Canadian Tire, which predate that, their light standards are quite a bit higher than the 4.5 meters we've established today. So Myers is asking to go up to 6.8 meters, which is more consistent with the old standard and would be therefore minor. They've also prepared a photometric plan as part of their related site plan control application, which demonstrates how the site is dark skies compliant and having 0-foot candles at property boundaries. We could go to the next slide, please. So applications are required to meet 4 tests under the Planning Act to be considered minor. So this is minor in nature as described. If the 2 properties were one entity, they would be allowed to have that 3rd driveway without requiring the variance. And the nature of the height request for the light fixtures is in keeping with other properties that have developed previously within this development. The application is generally meeting the intention of the zoning bylaw, 3 driveways over 102 meters. It's meeting the intention of the official plan to be for economic enterprise uses, commercial and industrial style uses, and therefore it's representing appropriate and good land use planning. Next slide, please. This application was circulated to persons and agencies as required under the Planning Act, and as a result of that, we received an email of no comment from Public Works, an email of no comment from Emergency and Protective Services, an email of no comment from Bylaw Services, and a letter of no objection from the Rideau Valley Conservation Authority. Final slide, please. Given all that, it is staff's recommendation that the committee approve this application, being for the additional driveway and the increase in height, with the following condition, that the 2 properties be treated as one for zone interpretation purposes. That concludes my report. I know the applicant is here to answer questions if there are any, and I'm happy to answer some myself. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mosher. So I'll look to council colleagues first for any questions of Mr. Mosher, and then we can bring the applicant up if required. So council colleagues, any questions in regards to this particular application? Councillor Sullivan, go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Through you to, I guess it would be to Director or Deputy Director Mosher. Is there a reason why the 2 properties then would not be just merged into one property? Would that not make sense in terms of there being treated as one and then the variance for the third laneway would not have been necessary. Would it have been easier to just merge them?
Through you, Madam Mayor, no. And we can go a little bit into the nerd zone. So under the Planning Act, these are two distinct lots that have been created by plans of subdivision. The northern part, 350, was in a different subdivision, and the southern part is also in a different subdivision. So actually to merge them together is just a bit complex under the current Planning Act, and this is a much simpler mechanism to use.
Okay, thank you. And if I may, a second question regarding the lights. What is the height of the lights? Because on page 5 of the report, it says that it's consistent with adjacent properties. So I'm wondering, what is the height of the lights in the Colonnade Mall or in the adjacent properties, which would be, I believe, Grenville Mutual and Walmart? What is that? Because this request is for a 50% increase in the height, which is 7.5 feet, which is significant, and I think would definitely have a wider spread of the light. And we really want to keep the dark sky. I know it's not projecting upwards, but still, I'm curious about that, please.
Through you, Madam Mayor, I don't actually have the statistics for the Walmart or the Grenville Mutual light heights handy. I can absolutely find that for you if you would like. But generally, this height request is not going to be out of keeping with like the Walmart or the Canadian Tire sites. And additionally, there is a photometric plan that was submitted as part of the site plan process, which demonstrates how it is downcast and keeping light within the site.
Okay, thank you. Then the other question I have is, with the dark skies policy, is there a limit on the brightness of the lights that are allowed to be used? There is a new commercial property located in that similar area of town that the lights are quite bright, and even though they're projecting downwards, there's still a lot of bright light going out sideways, much brighter than what is in the other mall, Walmart mall, or where the Starbucks is. These are definitely much brighter than the street lights. And there's been comments from residents about how bright they are. So I'm just wondering, is there a limitation, or can we put a limitation on, I guess it would be the lumens, or however you measure the brightness of the lights?
Through you, Madam Mayor. So in North Grenville's official plan, we use foot candles, which as I understand it is an older style measurement, but lumens or lux, yes, those are considered. I'm not sure the specific property. If there's something you'd like to mention to staff later, we can investigate. But at the current juncture in time that we find ourselves, when someone is presenting a site plan application, this photometric plan demonstrating how light does not trespass off its site is a requirement.
Okay. Yes, I would like to offline have a further conversation about that then, please. Thank you.
Great. Other comments or questions? Nothing? Anything for the applicant, colleagues? At this stage? Nope. Okay. So the recommendations, of course, are before us. Certainly, Mr. Mosher, thank you for your diligence here. Clearly, I think we have to close the public meeting before giving consideration to the relief being sought, if I'm not mistaken. There are no members of the public to speak to this matter, so I think I will close the public meeting, looking at our clerk, in order to now give consideration to the recommendations. Okay, excellent. Thank you. And with that, colleagues, I'll read the recommendation from staff. That is that the Committee of Adjustment grant relief for the properties located at 350 and 360 Colonnade Drive from Section 6.3811 of Comprehensive Zoning Law Bylaw 5012 to permit a total of 3 driveways across a total frontage of 102.25 meters. And that the committee further grant relief from Section 6.3813 of the zoning bylaw to permit light standards to be erected at a height of 6.8 meters. Because the request is minor, the intent of the comprehensive zoning bylaw and official plan are being maintained, and increase in the number of driveway entrances and increase in light height standards is desirable and appropriate in the economic enterprise designation. Staff are obviously recommending approval. So I'll look for a mover and a seconder for this particular. Councillor Sullivan, question?
If I may, I would be happy to move the variance be granted for the third laneway. However, I would like more information about the lights before we go forward with that one, please.
So in order to do that, we'd have to break up the motion into two. So I'll look to my council colleagues for their appetite in separating out the matters at hand, one of which is the driveway and the other of which would be the lights. So Councillor Sullivan, you're free to move consideration of just the driveway and see if you can get a seconder. If you can, we can deal with that one as a single matter and then consider the other. So it really is dependent on another council colleague to second your motion. Do we have a seconder for breaking the motion apart? We do not. So then we will have to return to this matter as a combined item, which again gives consideration to the 3 driveways as well as the relief from the dark sky policy. So with that, I will look for a mover and a seconder for the combined motion. Councillor Strachan, Deputy Mayor, excellent. Okay. So with that, are there any other comments or questions in regards to the recommendation, which obviously includes consideration of both matters? I see none. Yes, go
Just
ahead.
before you call the question, could the result be recorded, please?
Indeed. And I'm just going to ask Mr. Moshe for my own edification. When it comes to the light standards, I understand you saying that what Myers is ultimately looking for is sort of conformity with the surrounding light program, if you will. And can I ask, and maybe this is best directed to the applicant, I'm wondering if there's partly a security consideration at play here, because obviously it is a car dealership housing likely hundreds of thousands of vehicles. So maybe actually, if you don't mind, sir, you can come and perhaps give a little more context. You will have to do so at the mic. Thank you. And perhaps while you're considering your answer, I don't know if different municipalities or different car dealerships sort of have their own internal standard for what's acceptable when it comes to a lit property.
Yeah.
So perhaps you can also speak to that.
Yeah, I can speak to that. So my name is Adam Thompson. I'm with Novatech, senior project manager there representing Myers. Madam Mayor, you are correct. Generally, there's a standard for how much light there would be, for primarily, as you mentioned, for security purposes. That's generally when the lights are on, is at night when there's nobody around. So that just in combination with the cameras and whatnot, as well as the fencing and gating and whatnot, kind of circumvent any problems in terms of that. There would be standards, like the brands themselves would have certain standards as well for lighting. And so what you would find, and maybe I'll just kind of add to what Phil's mentioned so far, the height of the standards themselves wouldn't necessarily impact how much light would be produced on the site. If we were required to lower the heights, there would just be more standards and more light standards themselves in terms of the actual number to bring the site up to conformity with what's required for security purposes.
Thank you. I don't know if that's helpful context, Councillor Sullivan. One of the other questions I had is clearly we're familiar with the site where Myers is building their new dealership. Maybe, Mr. Mosher, you can remind me, there isn't really any neighboring residential developments in close proximity. Of course, I understand that with the configuration of the lights going down, the light shouldn't be conveyed off the property. But perhaps, Mr. Mosher, you can just remind me of what's in closest proximity from a residential standpoint.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. There are no residences within the immediate vicinity within like 250 meters of the property. North is the Walmart. East across the 416 is Southgate Church. South is Grenville Mutual. Further south across the Clover is the Kemptville Brewing Company. West is Mark's Work Warehouse. Again, you're quite a distance from any residents at this particular location.
Thank you. So I don't know, Councillor Sullivan, if that alleviates some of your concern in terms of impact. But again, given the configuration of the lights, I think the understanding is the dark sky policy would still be upheld and that the light shouldn't be conveyed off the property. Is that right? Okay. Okay, thank you. So with that in mind, we have a motion on the table. Any other questions for the applicant, colleagues? Okay, so I'll call the question. All in favor? Oh, I'm so sorry, Councillor Sullivan. I apologize. I'll ask for a recorded vote. So, and I believe the clerk administers a recorded vote, so I'm going to, or in this case, it would be Kai. So I'll defer to the Secretary Treasurer to call that vote. Thank you.
Hi, yes, thank you. I believe in this situation, we would ask that everyone who wishes to vote nay would stand, followed by anyone who wishes to vote yay would stand afterwards. Thank you. And all those in favor? Amazing, thank you.
And I believe that the names of the vote of each councillor will be captured accordingly. Okay, perfect. Thank you. All right. So that concludes the matter. The recommendation is approved. So we'll now move on. And again, we're at Committee of Adjustment. For those of you who may be here for another matter, we have two other Committee of Adjustment items. The Committee of Adjustment will now discuss the returning matter A0426 for Sasha Hansel on the lands located at 1661 River Road, Concession 1, Part Lot 16, Registered Plan 15R7631, Part 1, Registered Plan 15R6788, Part 1, Geographic Township of Oxford and Rideau, now the Municipality of North Grenville. The application was previously heard by the committee on May 13th, 2026. On May 13th, at that time, the committee passed a motion to defer the application until such time as the Rideau Valley Conservation Authority could provide insight and advice or guidance to planning in regards to site plan control options. We don't have a public meeting in regards to this matter. However, I do understand that there is an updated staff report or a bit of a refresh with supplemental information. And of course, if there is anyone here to speak, they can do so at the discretion of the chair, which is me. Is there anyone here for this application? Oh, Mr. Hansel is here. Okay, great. So you're free to address us a little bit later once Mr. Mosher's report is complete, if that's helpful. So Mr. Mosher, over to you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This is a relatively brief update just to say that we did receive correspondence from the Rideau Valley Conservation Authority, and Mr. Hansel has received his regulatory permit to facilitate the development, which was previously discussed at the last meeting. Again, this is development that's in proximity to a geotechnical hazard. At the last meeting, staff's opinion was that we could not recommend approval of that matter. The key reason is that the official plan contains policies that say no construction should occur within this unstable slope hazard itself, which a portion of the construction would be located within. So we did receive this comment from the Rideau Valley. They have no objections or concerns, and the regulatory permit was able to be issued. Rideau Valley does regulate natural hazards, which includes erosion hazards, and so is satisfied that this proposed development will meet their tests under the Conservation Authorities Act. Staff's still not able to recommend approval, and so therefore has to recommend refusal of this matter. But should the committee wish to approve this matter anyways, we just want to point out that you should articulate your reasons why, and that staff is available to sort of assist as you walk through those tests. And if you were to approve it, we would recommend that you include a condition for site plan control, as is a requirement of the official plan for development adjacent to water courses. That concludes the report. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Okay, thank you so much. And yes, you're correct. I think, Mr. Mosher, that during the initial meeting in regards to this matter, we felt that the opinion or advice or assessment from the Rideau Valley Conservation Authority was very relevant to the application. So clearly, Mr. Mosher has provided that the RVCA seems comfortable. I think that's the right word. Has approved what
If
the
I may.
language is. Yes.
RVCA have no technical objections to the findings of the report and determined that the related methods, data sources, inputs, outputs, analyses, interpretations, general design, and recommendations as presented are reasonable and are in keeping with standard industry practices and applicable technical guidelines.
Okay, thank you. So colleagues, understanding that our planning staff have come to the conclusion that they're not in a position to recommend approval of the application, but notwithstanding, there is an opportunity, I think, for the Committee of Adjustment to make a different decision. If it is your desire, I would look to council colleagues for any questions of Mr. Mosher at this time prior to considering a recommendation in the positive or in the negative. And I'll recognize Councillor Strachan.
Thank you. Through you, Madam Mayor, to Deputy Director Mosher. In this case, is the difference between what your recommendation is, the recommendations from the municipality's planning staff, and what the RVCA recommends based on a more, we'll call it binary yes, no, it meets the requirements from the municipality versus the RVCA taking into greater consideration the site-specific characteristics?
Thank you, Madam. Thank you, Councillor. And through you, Madam Mayor, I would say that's a really good question. Fundamentally, it comes down to a policy of ours. And so my opinion is not based on all of the technical criteria that the CA would be assessing when they're looking at development within a slope hazard. It's based on what the policy says. It's not what I wanted to say or think it should say, but it's what it actually says. And that says that no development should occur within the geotechnical hazard. Full stop. And so for that reason, it's a policy interpretation, which leads me to that recommendation.
Thank you. Other questions for Mr. Mosher at this time? Yes, Councillor Sullivan.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Through you to Director Mosher. I recall at the last meeting, and I don't have the drawings right in front of me, but it's only a small portion of the new construction that will actually be on the on or within the limits for that hazard. Only I'm guessing 4 to 6 feet of it, correct? So it's actually not the entire construction. It's just a small piece.
Through you, Madam Mayor, yes, I don't have the figures with me, but you're correct in that it's a portion of it that extends into the hazard.
Okay, thank you. And then the other question I have is the report here from the documentation correspondence from RVCA mentions that they have no problem with the technical report. It does say they would like to do a site visit on the property. And they were asking for May 26th around 11 in the morning. So since this documentation, has there been any further documentation from RVCA regarding that site visit? Have they confirmed, yes, this is how they feel, or no, they've changed their mind now that they've seen the site? So really the RVCA report isn't totally complete in my mind when they wanted to do a site visit.
Through you, Madam Mayor, I'm not aware of if the site visit occurred or not. I'm sure Mr. Hansel could illuminate us, but I can say that the regulatory permit for the property has been issued by the Rideau Valley Conservation Authority.
So it sounds like the site visit was a supplemental to the permit, but the site visit wasn't a condition of the permit being issued because the permit's been issued, notwithstanding whether or not there was a site visit. Yeah. And Mr. Hansel is here, so perhaps this is a opportunity for Mr. Hansel to speak a little bit further. Hansel, I apologize.
I'm pretty sure Nick did the site visit before he sent the final email.
Oh, I see.
Which was the approval.
Okay.
So I didn't witness him being there, but he asked for a time and date, and I assume.
It came onto the property.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Thank you. Colleagues, I don't know if there are any other questions for the applicant or staff at this time. I'll be looking for a motion to either approve the proposed setback or refuse the subject application. So I'll look to council colleagues to activate a motion in one direction or the other. I think Mr. Mosher has made it clear that he has some constraints in terms of how he was able to assess this application. The Committee of Adjustment is a body which can enable variances from policy if it is the desire of this body. So again, it's at your discretion how you wish to proceed on this matter. Deputy Mayor?
I would move that we approve the subject application and see how that flies.
Okay, I will look for a seconder. Thank you, Councilor Strachian. Okay, so any further discussion on the approval? To reduce the setback from the normal high water mark from 30 meters to 16.2 meters for a proposed projection only, and therefore to reduce the setback from 30 to 18 meters for an addition to a legal non-complying dwelling, and to permit an addition within the limits of a geotechnical hazard. So the motion's on the table. Yes, I'm sorry. Did I misspeak, Mr. Mosher?
No, I just wanted to say that if the committee does, they should articulate the reasons for the 4 tests.
I'm not sure if we have the, where would we find the 4 tests?
So I can walk you through it if you wish.
Yes.
So
Just give me one second. I just have to manage my order here. So just tell us where the 4 tests are.
They're not within this report, as it's a report for refusal, but if you want, I can walk you through it. It's Section 45 of the Planning Act.
Yes.
Okay, so the first would be that the application is minor in nature.
Yes.
The second, that it's generally consistent with the zoning bylaw, then the official plan, and then it's appropriate and represents desirable use of land.
And you're seeking that council justify in this moment the application of the 4 tests? Is this a new rule within the Planning Act?
No, it's just normally staff is saying, we recommend that you approve this because it does meet the 4 tests. So it's always for the committee to determine that the 4 tests are met, that you are satisfied that they're met. So this is a bit of a novel type of an experience where that may not have been expressly understood in previous instances where staff's recommending approval, but where we're recommending refusal, the committee should still articulate why those 4 tests are met, being minor, zoning conformity, official plan consistency, and generally desirable and appropriate.
Okay. And is it a condition of our decision that these 4 tests are addressed?
It is a statement within your decision that this application is approved because these 4 tests are met.
Okay, so before Mr. Hansel speaks, perhaps we can just walk through the 4 tests amongst ourselves, council colleagues? Okay, so let's tackle the first, minor in nature. Do we agree it's minor in nature? Deputy Mayor?
Sorry, I have a question. Is there one of those 4 tests that the planning department focused on in terms of justifying the refusal? And which one is that?
And so through you, Madam Mayor, planning staff agreed it was minor, very minor in nature in terms of the overall impact, but could not support the official plan zoning and desirableness and appropriateness of land tests.
So on the basis of 2 of those 4, 3 of those 4.
So I guess I'm a little bit confused because obviously we respect the expertise of staff, as you know. But at this point, we're here being presented with the opportunity to deviate from a staff recommendation. However, what you appear to be highlighting is you weren't satisfied that the 4 tests could be met. You're saying that we need to satisfy that the 4 tests are met in order to approve the application.
Yes, and if I may, this is not me telling you this, I'm just saying hypothetically, the committee could say, with the submission of the material from Rideau Valley and the
Right.
geotechnical report from an engineer
see.
and the review that's been completed, and that it is, staff generally agrees that it's minor, the 4 tests are addressed to your satisfaction.
Okay. So thank you. Thank you. So you've provided that language for our consideration in terms of how we apply the tests. Okay. And I appreciate your collaboration, Mr. Moshe. It is a new process, so thank you very much. So I guess, colleagues, are you satisfied that based upon the additional information that's been provided that the 4 tests have been met?
I'm satisfied.
Okay. Any other comments at this stage? Thank you. Okay. And we're new at this, so hopefully we'll get the hang of it. Yes. Yes, Mr. Hansel, thank you.
Yeah, it's a little late, but the majority of the setback is grandfathered, right? I just want to make that point.
Okay. And that is material because it does meet,
Well, it's
I
just
guess, the intent of our.
18 to 30
official-
years sounds like a lot, but if you you consider the grandfather part, it's
Indeed.
not as much.
Okay. 18 to 16, right, 18 to 16 is the incremental change. Is that what I'm to understand, Ms. Dunlop? Oh, 16 is the outstanding, so, right. Okay. Okay, colleagues, well, thank you again, Mr. Mosher, very much for supporting us through this process, and I will look to you for another comment.
Just one final thing for consideration. So normally, if staff was recommending approval for this, site plan control is a process that's typically required where properties are adjacent water bodies and water courses. And so the committee should consider if they wish to establish that as a condition of their approval.
And it's site plan control, correct, that you're seeking?
Yes.
Okay. So certainly, I think this body would be very amenable to including a provision that the subject application be subject to, the application be subject to a site plan control. Is that the language that you would recommend? Okay. So then we will, if it's.
That's a friendly amendment. Thank you.
I'm sorry to tell you that in recent governance training, I was told there was no such thing as friendly amendments, but the practice in North Grenville in recent years has been to allow friendly amendments. So we're going to carry on unless the clerk tells us otherwise, and we weren't in the same training. Ms. Lee, so I don't know if you have the latest and breaking information. But certainly, Deputy Mayor, I think we'll accept the insertion of the site plan control clause. I'm going to make sure that our seconder is equally amenable to the provision around site plan control. Councilor Strachan? Yeah, okay. Yes, Mr. Hansel.
Can I just ask for clarification on what that means? Rideau Valley did ask for that as part of their approval. So is there additional layer, or is that in conjunction with it, or what?
I will ask Mr. Mosher.
Through you, Madam Mayor. So it's there's lots of governmental layers. So there's the CA portion, which is they do the permit under the Conservation Authorities Act. And then there's the municipality who does building permit under the Building Code Act. So the one component is that which the Rideau Valley has issued their permit. So that's good. That is part of what's required for you to obtain your building permit. For North Grenville, in addition to this variance, which is potentially going to be granted, then site plan control, if that is listed as a condition, it's very much a requirement of North Grenville and is a traditional requirement of waterfront development. And so these would then become tests in order to be fulfilled before the building permit could be issued.
Okay, so it's nothing unusual.
No.
Have I missed any hands? I think we're good. Okay. Any last comment from staff? Are we good? Okay. I'm calling the vote on Deputy Mayor's motion to approve, subject to site plan control. All in favor? Okay. That carries. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, we are now going to move on to our last item under the Committee of Adjustment agenda this evening, and then we'll take a short break. The Committee of Adjustment will now discuss returning matter A0526 for Gary and Leah Boone on the lands located at 535 Swinley Crescent, Plan 15M44, Lot 35, Geographic Township of Oxford-on-Rideau, now the Municipality of North Grenville. As most of you will recall, colleagues, this application was previously heard by the committee on May 13th. At that time, the committee passed a motion to defer the application until today in order to provide time for staff and the applicants to work towards a way forward. Please note that tonight's discussion is not a public hearing. Any persons wishing to receive notice of the committee's decision are encouraged to speak with our Secretary Treasurer. I'll pass the meeting over to Ms. Martin. And I do understand that I think the applicants wish to make a presentation. Ms. Martin, would you prefer that they go first, or would you like to carry the floor?
Thank you, Your Worship. I'll just provide just maybe some quick commentary ahead, and then we'll invite Mr. and Mrs. Boone to come down to provide their presentation. I am presenting this evening on behalf of Ms. Wood, who cannot be here, who has handled this file, very professionally. I do have a quick little disclaimer, as the recommendation and the agenda is slightly different, so I just want to make the committee aware that the matter returning this evening in regard to AO 526 for 535 Swinley Crescent, the proposed motion on the agenda indicates a reduced exterior side yard setback of 2 meters. However, following further discussions with the applicants, they are requesting that their original proposal for relief of the reduced exterior side yard setback of 0.762 meters be considered. So in regard to the application, Ms. Wood had lots of back and forth discussions with Mr. and Mrs. Boone, and I did attend a site visit with her back a few weeks ago, where we looked at the property and discussed what options were available in regards to relocating the shed so that it was not as close to that exterior side yard. To that end, based on their own fact-finding mission in regards to the costs of moving the shed, which I will let the Boones explain the information that they had gathered, their sentiment was that they would like to still pursue their original recommendation, which would be to let it remain where it is. They have provided a variety of different visuals for the committee to consider this evening, and they're going to speak to the piece around adverse impacts. But at this time, staff's recommendation from the Committee of Adjustment last month in May still stands to refuse the application on the grounds that it is not minor, it does not meet the intent of the zoning bylaw, it does not meet the intent of the official plan, and it is not appropriate development. And to that end, in similar fashion to the just deliberated minor variance, we can go through those considerations as well, should the committee choose to support the application as to how they consider those 4 tests. So at this time, Your Worship, I leave it to you if you would like to acknowledge the Boones this evening to provide their presentation. It was provided in the report package to the committee. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Well, I would be pleased to invite the Boones down for a short presentation. Thank you.
Thank you for having us back. We had such a good time on May 13th. We're all back for more. I believe I submitted another package, proposal 2, variance 2.0.
Okay, we're just calling that up. I think the clerk does have it. Okay.
I do not believe that's it. There was one updated June 2nd.
It would have been transmitted by email to the clerk's office.
If I may, I believe it is the first item in that list, the applicant slideshow presentation matter returning.
Perfect. So if I may take a few minutes
Yeah.
just to stop through it. So as Ms. Martin mentioned, we had some discussion and unfortunately no agreement was reached with the planning department. And I can talk about the process for that and how we reached where we are. In parallel to that, we were doing some research. So on May 13th, you basically recommended that we try and find some middle ground, which we did. So we started doing that work. But we also were doing some investigation of our own about costs, risks, and other considerations. And so despite the attempts to reach agreement, we weren't able to do that. And so we're back to seeking the original approval for a 0.76 meter exterior side yard setback. The reason for that is the neighborhood aesthetic is being maintained. The placement of the shed is very consistent with other properties within Equinel. Nobody is complaining. The current location is actually endorsed by real estate and design professionals. There's no risk to sight lines or utilities. The relocation costs and risk factors are significant. And there are circumstances peculiar to our property, which I believe give you latitude to grant relief. So I will talk to those points briefly on the subsequent slides. Next slide, please. So as I mentioned, agreement was not mentioned, was not reached. We had a good exchange of proposals with Ms. Wood. Subsequent to that, Ms. Martin and Ms. Wood came to the site to visit. And the next 3 slides illustrate those negotiations. But at the end of the day, we still reached a point where there was a significant delta between our 2 positions. Our original position, which was a 7.762 meters setback, and the North Grenville Planning Department's recommendation of 3 meters, their compromise. Next slide, please. So after the May 13th meeting, we sent an email to Ms. Wood proposing a 1.2 meter setback. Next slide, please. That was rejected. North Grenville countered with 3 meters. That didn't work for us. Next slide, please. So we came back and countered with 2 meters. And again, that came back, next slide, and it was rejected. So in parallel to that, we were considering our options. So next, slide number 8, please. So again, we were initially open to consider a compromise. Indeed, we walked away from this meeting on May 13th, fully prepared to do so. But then in parallel, we were doing some research, looked at the costs associated with the move, looked at the risk associated with the move, consulted your North Grenville website, looked at the neighborhood, talked to a real estate agent, and that reinforced our view that indeed the current location that we've got the shed in is the best possible location. And again, want to emphasize that this wasn't just a random location. It was recommended by a professional landscaping designer back in October, considering all the factors on our property. Next slide, please. This particular slide shows the current location on the top picture with some markup. The shed, in fact, to the bottom of the eave is 82 inches top to bottom. And I stepped into the geek zone to build the bottom picture. This is a mock-up. This is not a real picture. But we intend to wrap the perimeter with a matching PVC fence. And so you can see from this mock-up, the fence is 72 inches tall. So the delta between the top of the fence and the eave of the shed is 10 inches. So we believe that once that matching fence is there, again, matching the shed and indeed the siding of the house, that the shed will be practically invisible. Next slide, please. We went to the North Grenville website and researched more about minor variances. And indeed, the wording on your website says the minor variances are often triggered by circumstances which are peculiar to the property. Well, in this case, I think you all agree there is a peculiarity to that property. There is a significant gradient change from front to back. So this is the reason why our professional landscape designer recommended this location, because really this is the best practical location for the property. And we talked about that on May 13th. Next slide, please. Again, back to your North Grenville website, talks about the 4 tests. We talked about this in the previous variant approval, so I won't go in detail. On May 13th, I think it was well understood that the minor variance is a bit subjective. And the other 3 tests, I want to talk about mitigations in the next slide, please. So number of possible considerations for that would probably feed into the bylaws. First of all, infrastructure and utilities, ensuring there's space for municipal services. In our particular case, there are no utility lines, services underneath the shed. The shed is a temporary structure. The base underneath is crushed stone. It's not a poured cement base. It is movable should North Grenville need access, although that would not be without cost. And it is not impacting any drainage. And I just want to draw your attention to the temporary structure. This will come up in a slide or two. We surveyed all the other structures in the Equinell subdivision of the same nature on an exterior side lot, and it's quite clear that some of them are decidedly permanent. They're on a cement slab. Seemed to my uneducated eye that some of them even had service hookups. So they're not temporary, they're permanent. This one is very much temporary. Sorry, if we could go back one. In terms of traffic safety and traffic sight, the sight lines are clear. I don't think that's in dispute. Emergency access, the shed location does not impede clearance. And in terms of consistency within Equinel, the Chic Shed location is very consistent with other Equinel properties, and we'll show that in a couple of slides. Next slide, please. Apologies, these slides are perhaps a little dark, but I think you can tell from this. We're on the edge of a cul-de-sac. The bottom picture shows the view from inside the cul-de-sac, and it's a kind of a bulbous front yard design at the entry to the cul-de-sac. And you can see the top picture is a little further outside the cul-de-sac. There's plenty of surrounding space around that shed. And in fact, when the fence goes in, the fence will be the outermost construction, not the shed. And we need to put the fence in place for the pool that is going in, as we talked about on May 13th. Next slide, please. So I think one of the things that we looked at was the consistency within the neighborhood. This is an amalgamation of different pictures taken around Equinel a couple of weeks ago. You can see there's 9 different properties here with structures on exterior side yards. The red boxes highlight the location of the structures. And in many cases, in fact, all the ones shown here, those sheds are, from my uneducated eye, violating that exterior side yard setback, in many cases, very close to the property line. These pictures are not shared in the spirit of being the shed police. We don't want to be the shed police, but it's simply trying to observe that we are very consistent in our location. Nobody is complaining, and I think that was clear on May 13th. In fact, it's quite the contrary. Funny story, about 2 weeks ago, a new neighbor, soon-to-be neighbor, came up to me as I was walking the dog, and we introduced each other. And the very first thing he said to me was, "Love your shed." And I said, "Do you mind if I ask, do you love my shed and the location, or just the shed?" And he said, "No, like seriously, it's all great." Nobody's complaining. People love the shed. Next slide, please. We also sought the opinion of a real estate agent. I won't read you all the details because, quite frankly, it's a little small for my eyes. But I want to highlight a couple of the statements he sent. This is from James Angus, Angle Invokers. He gave us permission to share this. So I'm going to share excerpts. The current proposed location represents the most appropriate placement for the structure. He goes on to say, spread over 2 paragraphs, relocating the shed further into the side yard would create an unusual and visually prominent feature and potentially detract from the property's curb appeal. So it's not just our opinion. We've got the opinion of a professional landscaping designer who recommended the location, and now a real estate agent whose expertise it is to judge property values. Next slide, please. Brings us to the cost and risk. I won't delve into the detail unless you have queries. We obtained a number of estimates. We went back to the origination, the firm that constructed the shed. There is no warranty covering the movement. We've got a quote for the movement, and then the builder of the shed came back with the repairs that we would expect. So based on all these quotes, we're estimating $4,500 or more for a move of the shed, and to achieve what? To achieve a location that is, by all the experts, a worst possible location. Next slide, please. So in conclusion, after considering the cost and hardship that even a small move would cause, we respectfully ask for relief from the bylaw and ask you to grant a 0.76 meter external side yard setback. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Okay, thank you. So I'll open it up for questions to the applicant and or our staff. And I'll start with Councillor Sullivan.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and to Mr. and Mrs. Boone, thank you very much for you've put a lot of work into this presentation that very respectfully presented to us, and obviously you were willing to do whatever needed to be done and to try and reach a compromise, and that obviously didn't work. So you probably recall May 13th, I was in favor of granting you the original request. And I still remain in favor of granting the original request. I went for a site visit myself the other day on my bicycle and had a look around. And so if any of the neighbors saw me taking pictures of their sheds that were close to the fences or your property, that's what I was doing.
Oh, what do we do? Oh, okay. Oh, great.
To go at the door.